Hello and welcome to the Arena Sports Show. My name is Clauiee Grace Mpanza, and as we build excitement to the Betway Premiership, we'll be giving away 3 football jerseys on this show. We'll get to show you in just a bit which teams, of course, we'll be giving away. But on that note, allow me to introduce my team to you. We've got, of course, Mr. Click, Click, Bang, Sizwe Mabena. If I had to liken him to a certain team, he'd definitely be the Kaizer Chiefs of the show, as he believes he's got, of course, the glamour, adorning new outfits almost every week. And we're trying to keep up. And of course, that history record of great work that he's done in the past. But if you need him to show up today, absolutely nowhere to be found. You don't know where Sizwe Mabena is. Besides, up at the commentary booth amongst, of course, the bench warmers. And then we move over to my favorite influencer, Mahlatse Mphahlele, who is, of course, the ever-reliable scribbler. And whether he's being attacked by flu or not, we'll see him inverting into a different position. So you could say that he's the Mamelodi Sundowns, right? Gentlemen, how are you guys doing?
I don't know how I'm doing. I was fine until about 30 seconds ago. Right now, I don't know. I need time.
You need time to process it.
Just let it be. It's okay.
Influencer, you're good. Welcome back. It's good to have you back.
Thank you. I'm back. Missed 2 matches. I'm back.
Yeah.
Flu caught me, but I'm fully recovered. I'm good to go. Yeah.
Back into your natural position.
That's it.
No, we absolutely love that. So we mentioned, of course, jerseys, right? So these are the jerseys that we'll be giving away. Yeah. Let's see if we can get that into frame. So this, of course, Amakosi, the Glamour Boys. This is the jersey that you get to win. We've got Mamelodi Sundowns over there, and then Mahlatse Mphahlele. What do they have?
I've got the Buccaneers. I've got
the
Pirates.
Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Let's see that.
Yeah,
Hold it up.
Go.
There we go. Fantastic. Yeah. So these are the 3 jerseys that we'll be giving away. We'll get to share, of course, the question in the next episode. We've got a special episode lined up next week. But for now, the top stories are coming up next. Let's find out what's been happening in the world of sport.
Bafana coach Hugo Bruce has announced a 38-player preliminary squad to face Uganda and South Sudan in next month's 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. A notable inclusion was 22-year-old Vitesse Arnhem striker Simon van Devenboden, whose father was born in South Africa and who became eligible to play for South Africa last month. Bafana hosts Uganda at the Orlando Stadium on September the 6th before travelling to South Sudan for the second Group K match in September the 10th. Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus has included 3 Rugby World Cup winners who haven't seen action this year due to injury in the squad for the Rugby Championship test against the All Blacks. The Boks welcome back prop Stephen Kitchoff, scrum half Jaden Hendrickse, and winger Keenan Moody for matches against New Zealand at Ellis Park on August the 31st and Cape Town Stadium on September the 7th. Proteas white ball coach Rob Walter has named the 15-man squad for the upcoming 3-match T20 series against the West Indies, which gets underway on Friday in Trinidad and Tobago. Dolphins all-rounder Jason Smith and Lions fast bowler Kwena Mapaka have received their maiden call-ups to the national side, and Lions spinner Ngaba Peter, who made his T20 debut against the West Indies in May, has been ruled out due to a shoulder injury.
Stars of the Week, one of my favorite features as we choose, of course, athletes or administrators who have impressed us in the past few days. Influencer, since you've been gone, who has impressed you?
Rugby.
Rugby.
I'm going with Mphahlele. I was extremely impressed with the way he played in the last match against Australia, the second test in Perth.
Yeah.
He's on a comeback.
For sure.
I think for the last 2 years, he's struggled a little bit with form, with confidence. And Coach Rassie is, bringing him back into the national team. I'm sure he will definitely know that, among the outside backs, he's not the number 1 choice.
For sure.
Because we have got Mapimpi, we have got Vili, we've got Kainen, we've got Ketley Arense. But the fact that he's in the mix is good for him. He played very well. He impressed me. Took the first tie very well. Possibly now, if you look in international rugby now, that tie, the first tie against Australia in Perth, pretty much the best tie of the year so far. A player who's on the up. And I hope he stays focused, he stays committed to the cause. And I'm also happy that he's been included in the squad to play against New Zealand in Johannesburg and Durban. So, my star of the week is Mphahlele.
All right, Mr. Mabena, who has impressed you?
You have to love sports and how some athletes may not have your attention at the beginning, but win you over with time. Now, I'm going to UFC, and Tuks is my star. I say this because Tuks wasn't always my favorite. But, well, he comes up against who was my favorite for a long time, Izzy Adesanya. And so I was on the fence with this one. Do I support Izzy? Do I support Tuks? And then Tuks comes out with the national anthem on the walk on the flag, and that won't be over.
He's there. Even if someone is there, you just
it won't be over. Tuks stepped out, hey, started singing the national anthem as well, And thus he beat Izzy, which I thought was good on him and good on South Africa.
For sure.
There's a video of him drinking a pint of beer in less than a second.
So quickly, I was shocked. How?
Unbelievable.
Absolutely unbelievable. My star of the week is the Van der Linde brothers, Sheldon and Calvin, of course. And the reason being, we had the Nürburgring not too long ago, and they both managed to win on the same weekend. Absolutely impeccable. On the Saturday, Calvin was the winner, and we saw Sheldon finishing in 13th. And come Sunday, where we didn't expect Sheldon van der Linde to win, but then he went on to be victorious. So great to see both the brothers being able to taste champagne, compete. And of course, we do know that Sheldon is the 2022 DTM champion. So great to see, of course, and they are also proudly South African. So I guess the South African flag is being waved everywhere in the world of sport. But continuing with that wave, we have, of course, a silver medalist, an Olympian, Bayanda Walaza. Let's find out what he has to say after coming back home and, of course, receiving all the congratulations and the good vibes here in South Africa.
Yeah, it was awesome seeing my classmates this happy. Like, makes me also happy and emotional as well. Because, like, yeah, it shows that I've done a huge impact. I'm a huge impact into them, because I think giving them hope of life to see that anything is possible. And I'm also happy that I'm back, because I was wishing to. I wanted to come back. Yeah. And check how's everything going. And I also wanted to be back to the school to see my team, my classmates and my teammates as well, and my teachers. I really appreciate my mom a very lot. And what I like to say to him is that I thank him for being strong, because I know I was a troubled kid back then. It took me like years to come back to my senses, because there was a point where I was even losing it because of that father. When my father passed away, like, I was no longer myself, but she was strong enough, and she was always on my side, and she was like, you know what, my baby, let's do this. And she was the one who's always encouraging me in sports. She was pushing me, making sure that, like, I go to school, my mind is okay, looking for psychologists to check me, making sure that I'm like, I'd like to thank her to be there in my life. I really needed her in my life. And for now, I don't know what I'm going to do if she wasn't there. I want to buy her like a huge house to thank her. I want to buy her like a big house to appreciate her work, whatever she did to me, like, for everything that she did to me. I just dedicate all the money, especially to her, the most. People always asking me if do I really know what did I do? Like, for me, I'm not 100% sure about it, but I feel like I did a really great job, a really good thing. But it's not like it's the end of it. There's still more years to come. I still have to run for South Africa. I still have Olympics 2028. So this, I think, for me, this is just a starter of awesome things that are still coming. You see? So for me, I'm still saying it's not that big for now. There's more to come.
Absolutely inspiring hearing from the young kids. Sizwe Mabena, when you were at that age, were you that inspiring, or were you also still lost for a very long time?
At that age. Yeah. Well, look, I was juggling for my TikTok stage. I don't think he's juggling for it either.
Not at all.
It's mind-boggling to see a young man who's won an Olympic medal wearing school uniform. The blaze and the tie. Yeah. I'm so proud of him. And also, when you listen to his story, to have gone through the trials and tribulations he already has at such a young age as well, and overcome them. It's an inspiring story.
It definitely is, and we love to hear it. 2028, we're looking forward to seeing, of course, his medalist performance on the next one. But for now, we move over to another conversation where we talk all things football. We do know that, of course, domestic football is back, so we'll also be talking all things the Motsepe Foundation Championship. We've got a special guest who'll be joining us in just a bit. Joining us now is a man who guided the University of Pretoria back in 2012 back to the Premiership. Tebogo Monyai joins us now. He is the SAFPU acting president. Debza, thank you for joining us. Finally, we get to have you. I think we've been trying to get you for a good week now. How are you doing?
What was the other day?
Look, I think time is a bit of a problem. Currently, there are a lot of issues that one is dealing with. But otherwise, thanks for welcoming me and having me here, and thanks to your viewers as well.
So how is the off-season, pre-season looking like on your side? Because I know Sizwe Mabena has been a lot of buying new clothes. He wore the special new outfit and chilling at home. But Mphahlele has been running around. What about you? What have you been getting up to?
I've been running around too, from office to another office, club to club, meeting chairmen and meeting players. Also, it's been crazy, contractual dispute, unpaid salaries, sales of the clubs changing hands, there's a lot. We haven't been having any rest, to be honest.
Does it shock you? Sorry, Mabena. I mean, you mentioned unpaid salaries. Does it shock you that till today we still go through that? And I ask this because I remember last year when you were helping, Swallows and that issue. And I know you also played for Swallows, and I know it happened back in the days as well. So I'm just like, how is it still happening in 2024?
Look, it's actually getting worse now than before, because especially in the National First Division, it's quite shocking. Maybe because of the amount of the grant that they are getting, others not understanding the scope of running a football club. I think those are some of the issues.
Firstly, I wonder for the layman that's watching us, when we say SAF, we know what we mean, but what does that mean for the layman watching us? So break that down for us. And secondly, Brian Baloyi had an interesting take when I spoke to him about the same issues we're talking about, where we're talking about salaries and club owners and money. And his take was like, as long as the structure of South African football is club owner, only a club, we're going to keep having these problems because the individual runs out of money. And until we change that to maybe a board of people owning a club together, or shares or something of that regard, then until that day comes, we won't stop having these problems. But first, let's start with SAFPU.
SAFPU is the South African Football Players Union. It's an organization that obviously looks after the best interest of players' rights, and also contractual dispute and other programs such as Life After Football, giving advices in terms of financial literacies and investment and other things. There's a hell of a lot of things that the union is all about. We are moving away of being a traditional union where we're about toy-toying, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I can't imagine you toy-toying. But
we toy did the game.
Your thoughts quickly on Brian Baloyi's take on South African football, the structures, and how we need to change it to move away from payment disputes and things like that.
Look, it is true. I would agree with Brian Baloyi about that, because if you look, there's an issue of the grant being managed, in particular in the National First Division, where you get owners sometimes getting the grant at that time, they use it for their personal use, and now you find out that when it comes to the payments of the come month end, when they're supposed to pay salaries, is a problem. We've seen it with also in the Premier Soccer League as well. It has happened Moroka Swallows. It has happened at TS Galaxy. These are some of the things that should maybe. Brian Baloyi is right. In other countries, few countries, they are doing that because you find the league is run by the federations instead of the private entity, where you find out that players are being paid in advance. When you sign a contract, they pay you a lump sum in advance for the entire contract. Or you find the league paying through the salaries to the players directly. And the club owners being appointed as CEOs or directors and that, but they also have a salary.
Influencer.
So, Tebza, obviously you've operated in this space for a long time. And we say, to this day, we still hear stories that players, even in the PSL, get paid very little money. What are some of the shocking numbers we have seen? I'm told some players in the PSL earn as little as 12,000 rands a month.
Look, you'd remember the story of Bruce Vuma at Kaizer Chiefs, which we were involved as an organization in SAFPU. I think it was a very shocking story whereby Bruce Boma was earning 5,000 Rand at Kaizer Chiefs, and it was real. It was not anything that people would say maybe we just talking about something that is non-existent. But it is a difficult issue because you find club owners want to pay the salaries that fit their pockets, and at the very same time you need to strike the balance. But how do you? Players are expecting more. They feel they're worth a lot of money. But how then do you gauge the value of the player? And where does that come from? Whether vis-a-vis Premier Soccer League, National First Division. I think until we have the minimum wage and the salary cap, I think that's where we believe that things can be controlled much better and try to put things into perspective. But yes, the league is willing. We have signed a collective bargaining agreement with the league, and these are some of the issues that we need to come to the fore and make sure that we agree with the league. But it takes long, you know. The reason why it takes long is because other club owners are not willing to come to the party, but the league is willing, to be honest. We've engaged a lot with them.
I want to find out your perspective in terms of, you know, you mentioned now that the league is willing. When you look into South Africa, where you find different entities pulling different sides. I mean, you have the association and SAFA, and you have the PSL league, then you have the clubs. So your thoughts in these different entities not always being aligned, do you think that also contributes to how then we have our players that suffer?
Definitely. I think we were fortunate enough when we attended a conference with FIFA International. They came to South Africa, meeting a couple of African countries here in Sandton. We attended that particular meeting as a union. Myself, I attended. You know, in that particular meeting, as SAFPU, we raised that very critical point and say until the federation and the league, they are on the same page, and I'm glad that the president is here in front of me. We know that they are not sharing the same objectives, same vision, and that is going to derail the South African football for the longest time. Until such time when we come together, the federation and the league, and they are able to find each other for the common goal, and we are always available. We try to play a situation whereby we are in good terms with everyone, but still address the issues that needed to be addressed at that time.
Now, when you speak of the Vuma 5,000 Rand issue, let you just take you back to Mphahlele.
Yes.
Long time ago, Swallows. We were shocked that he was getting 5,000 or 6,000
Exactly.
then.
4.5.
4.5 was it back then? That was what, before 2010 World Cup? Way before the 2010 World Cup. Here we are 20 years later, more or less, and a player at Chiefs is at 5,000. Is that a big shock for you?
Look, at that point, it was a big shock because everyone obviously will never expect a big club like Kaizer Chiefs to pay a player 5,000 Rand, but I'm sure their explanation was that he comes from their own development. From our side, when we did our research, our investigation, we found out that no, the contract was signed. It was a fully professional contract rather than an amateur contract. So which eventually we were happy as a union that the Kaizer Chiefs came on board and played their ball. The player's salary went up, and it was very good that he got what he deserved, and we were happy as an organization.
So, Tims, from my side, we also obviously interact with a lot of players and former players. And one thing that is quite clear is that a lot of guys don't retire comfortably. I spoke to Tips guys not so long ago, and he did say that almost all professional players in the PSL won't make enough money as players to be able to retire comfortably. What sort of programs do you have for these guys when they leave? I know there are so many, but you are lucky because you work for the club that you played for. And you look after them, they look after you. But most of the guys, the last month that they get paid, that's it.
It is a reality, Mahlatse, in South African football. You know, we live from hand to mouth, and sometimes, yes, there are those players that get paid handful amount of money that can assist them if they are to invest well. But there are those that obviously, by the virtue of watching them on TV, you think they are getting a lot of money, but they're only to find out that they're underpaid. And for you to create an investment out of that, at the same time you must leave, you've got other extended family members that you must look after. It's quite difficult. Besides that, there are issues of, as a union, we feel that the government also is contributing a lot into the poverty of the players. How so? I earn 20,000 rand as a footballer. A government employee earns 20,000 rand. Over and above that, he's got other benefits. And we are yet put in the same tax brackets. And I have to create all those benefits out of this very same 20,000 rand. It does not make sense. So it will be one thing that we are pushing as a union is to, we are running a petition now, players are signing. We have engaged with the Ministry of Sports previously. We'll be engaging with the new Minister of Sports to make sure that we submit our petition about that, to say sports people, not necessarily only footballers, they must have a sports tax of their own. We're not saying they must not be taxed, but just for the government to try and allow them to have a backup in terms of saving money.
For sure.
And over and above that, I understand Mahlatse spoke about the issue of retiring without anything. Sometimes you look at a player like myself. Before I turned professional, I had a degree. So education is one of the key things that when we looked as a union, we said, what can we do? Let's start as little as we can. We introduced a bursary scheme where players go to they will go and register to the institution of their own. All what we need, there are no requirements whatsoever. All what we need is a proof of registration. Then we pay for your fees. So as a union, so it's one thing that I can tell you a lot of players have gone through that. Your Tristan Kotsi graduated as a lawyer, Ronald Kejijere, the Namibian as well. We have your Vuyo Mero studied through the Damelin, I think. And there are a lot of them that I can cut. It's not only looking at the issue of them studying at the institution of their choice, but those that have retired, we have assisted your Benson Mutlongo, your Dylan Shepherd, your Pomalika. There are many. Your Magma Yambelo, when he went to do his coaching courses abroad. The union has contributed massively financially in terms of them getting those qualifications. But we are saying we need to plan better. We need to come up with programs that can cater everyone. Not everyone can go through educational background, but there are issues such as business opportunities that one can look while you're still playing, because while you're still playing, everyone wants to be part of you. So use that opportunity to create a business opportunity for yourself and try to invest in business.
For sure. So now, when you look into contracts, Debza, I mean, you touched on it just a little bit earlier on, and till today, I absolutely marvel at the fact that there are players that will sign contracts that say you play X amount of games, and if you play X amount of games, then we'll start looking into an X amount of bonus. And I know as well with Banyana, there was no amount that was given to say, okay, sign the contract, but there was no money as to how much money am I getting for this. So such contracts, and how do they still exist till today, where it's very elusive and things could still be changed? Because back in the day, I could understand why we could still get away with it, but talk to us about the current fight with the contracts.
Look, it does exist, but I think it's a good question to educate our current footballers about it, because normally when you sign a contract, you have what we call a monthly salary. That's fixed. It's like that throughout your contract. Then you've got what we call bonuses. On top of that, you might have a 20,000 rand salary fixed every month. Then because you wanted more from the club said, prove to us if you're worth 40,000. If you play 70% of the games, then we will take your salary up. But the problem with that is that you get to play, if you agree that 70% is 18 games, you get to play game number 16. And
71 doesn't count.
Because
They're on the bench.
It activates the big amount of money that the club is going to lose. So these are some of the things that I wouldn't encourage players to go that route. Better stay away of that type of agreement, and rather negotiate a lump sum that you'll be happy If the club cannot afford you, then look somewhere else.
I think that's a very good point, and I'm hoping that we'll take it also when you guys are, encouraging your other kids. But now we move to talk Bafana Bafana. You've seen the squad. Mahlatse Mphahlele, I'll start with you. I do know that Tegofasa Mabasa is a player that you are absolutely shattered that he's not in the prelim squad. Sizwe Mabena also is shattered. Thank you.
I've been fighting this fight. I'm like,
Yeah. But you know what my thing is, guys, and perhaps you guys can share your thoughts, because I know you guys are saying, and a lot of people on social media saying, no, but Evidence Makgopa, how is he still in the squad? Why does Hugo like it? But you look at the fact that, and look at Mabasa at Orlando Pirates. A traditional number 9. He is your goal poucher. That's what Mabasa is. That's what he's going to give you, right? Whereas Evidence, he'll help you fight here and there. He will try and go get the ball. So he plays a different role compared to a Mabasa.
Yes.
So now the comparison between the two, because I don't agree of the fact that Mabasa must be in and then Makgopa must go out. Can't you then utilize both of them?
Yeah, well, okay, let me start. Coach Hugo Bruce, since he became the Bafana coach, he's been unorthodox in the way he does things. And also with him, obviously, I mean, as time goes on, with experience and stuff, I've also learned to sort of let me allow the coach to do his stuff. I'll disagree here and there. I don't entirely agree with him leaving Mabasa out, because we always hear the story that of course the players must play themselves into form to get into the national team. Then it's contradictory that Mabasa is on form and then he's not being picked. But also you have got to respect the fact that coaches have got their players. A particular coach, when you play professional football, a coach will come and then suddenly you don't play. Well, you were playing with the previous coach. I don't entirely agree that Mabasa should not be in the team, but I want to take a different route and say I will respect the coach's decision. He has taken this decision, and he will live by it. If the results doesn't come, the questions are going to come. But no, you are not winning matches because you have left an on-form striker outside. So let's give the guy space to do what he's doing. I think so far he has done fairly well, the coach. But even though we don't entirely agree with him, there are also certain players in this team who I personally feel they shouldn't be in the squad. But he likes them. Coach Lani did say the other day that with Moby, Moby is going to be there.
No doubt.
Like it or you don't like it.
Yes.
So those are the things that you've got to accept and live with them.
But one thing also that I picked up, then maybe we can come to you, Debs. When you look into this Bafana squad, it's that unity, because I've picked up with Hugo that he's not only looking for infield player, but also the dressing room, because he's talked about that brotherhood. When you look into Ronwen Williams, who's also assisting to say, hey, give Urile a chance. I think it's a good time to bring him in. So there's that openness that he has with the players that he has called upon, because he feels he can trust them. Talk to us, for your opinion, overall squad, what you think about this Bafana squad.
No, look, I think first of all, it's consistency within the squad in terms of the type of players that you pick.
Yeah.
And Coach Hugo Bruce has been consistent when it comes to that. You look at the experience that we have across the back. The goalkeeping department has been consistent in terms of selecting the squad. Yes, of course, when the squad is selected and the time goes by, you will need to introduce fresh legs, and these youngsters are coming in bit by bit and try and test them there and there and see if you can mix them with experience. And these older guys will be able to carry them through and try to show them the ways on how things are done.
For sure.
I think he's done well in that. I would say you look at the young boys from Pirates, the relay. He's a good player, very quick, technically one of the best, good on 1 versus 1.
Yeah.
They need to be introduced as early as possible for them to gain experience now, so that when it comes to a bigger stage where they are supposed to take over, they're ready.
100%. Mabena, I'm sure you still want to stick with Mabasa.
Just want to say, quick one. No one is saying take out Mabasa for his Paris teammates. The issue here is, should Mabasa be part of the different types of strikers you've got?
No, some people are saying that. So you're saying you're not saying.
Yes. Yeah. Look, when I argue the Mabasa issue, it's very difficult to say, no, take him out, put him in his place. But
that's a decision that the coach probably
that's
what he's thinking
that's
as
what
well.
He must make. That's a decision he must make. But also, what you made, the point you made earlier about the different types of players there are, different types of strikers there are. Yes, I'm adding to them. I'm saying, yeah, that's perfect. That's great. Raiders is a certain way, Babas is a certain way, Makopa is a certain way.
Yeah.
Add them all together. You've got different types of strikers for the different types of matches and opponents you face. But Babas, for me, is someone whom you mentioned form. Influencer spoke about form, and form over a 2-year period for me is something you can't ignore. Form 6 months, okay. Form over a year and a half, you can't ignore that. You really can't ignore that. And also, he played with your national team at the COSAFA.
Yeah.
His form actually started off at the COSAFA 2 off seasons ago and carried on from there. So that rewards what he's given us.
And Coach Hugo Bruce has proved us over a period of time now. He's a loyal coach. I mean, just before AFCON, Mahopa had not been playing for the longest time. He played 1 or 2, 3 matches.
No, he sticks to his players.
Squad, you know, so he backs his players.
Yeah.
Mahopa is one. Nyoko Mobi is another. He also, you know, he has established a very good relationship with Ronan Williams, who is his captain. You know, you also look at among the defenders. Kuliso Mdau on the right. CBC, he likes CBC. CBC most of the times doesn't play Pirates.
But he will play it, and he will show up.
He's there. You know, so I think sometimes, I mean, a national team's squad, people will always talk and say all these kinds of things. And let's give the guy a chance to see what he's doing, even though we may not entirely agree. I would love to see Mabasa in the squad. I think he's a proper number 9, the guy who can score goals for you. When you go for qualifiers where generally there's no room for error, you need a guy who can score goals for you. But clearly he doesn't like him. He has decided to go with a guy who we have never heard of.
I wouldn't say he doesn't like him. It's a strong term.
So let's see what this guy brings us, you know.
All right, let's look into Orlando Pirates. I'll start with you this time around, Tibbs. I mean, CAF Champions League, they are, of course, trying to qualify. They played the Disciples and last weekend, and this Friday they played them, of course, the return leg, currently tied to a 0-0 scoreline. When you look into this Pirates side this season, and the fact that they're being held by people who are not really professional footballers, they're basically playing part-time. What business does Pirates have to do?
Don't use the P word.
You guys are terrible. But where did they get it wrong when you watched that game as to, because we saw the coach also trying a different system, playing with 3 at the back, also that midfield where having Maphahlele and Makaula with Undlondlo, where I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting this partnership. And from my opinion, didn't look like a partnership that worked either, because when you see both of them would run up front, there was a miscommunication. The middle of the park was then left with so much space. If it was a different team, they were going to capitalize on that space that was left. Talk to us about what you saw from the Pirates side.
Look, I think if you look at their preparations when they went on pre-season abroad, they've done well. I think the team, if you were to ask me right now, Pirates is one team last season, they were a very successful team in terms of a local football. And more than any other club, because in terms of the trophies being won, and the coach did a very good work. I think, you know, this competition whereby I think they just started now. I believe, you know, the mindset of players works in a very different way. You know, when you play against fishermen, you tend to undermine, you know. We've seen this in the Nedbank Cup, where you'd remember Pirates were beaten 4 by Maluti. It's, if at that time, the very same Pirates team advanced to the semi-finals of the Champions League or of some Confederation Cup at that time. And it was the best team ever. And they fielded the best players. The mindset and the attitude towards the match and the type of opponents that you play contribute a lot. We need to change to look at each and every game as it comes like as strongest opponents. We need to apply whatever we have. If we are professional enough, if we are good enough. If it's an amateur team, we need to come up with a 10-0 score So I think that's the only thing that Pirates came across in this match. And believe you me, you'll see a different Orlando Pirates at home. You might see 5-0 score. You might see 4-0 score because that is waking them up. And also as time progresses, the momentum they gain, you know, in the tournament, and that I think they will do well. I think, you know, based on their preparation,
for sure.
they are one team that I believe in, that they will show more positivity in terms of the results and in terms of playing well.
Mabena, physicality is one thing that you always talk about when you talk about the CAF competitions. And I looked at this team, and there's a lot of tall, fair guys, you know, whereas Pirates you'd see you know, short people here and there. So going further into the progression, talk to us about the physicality that this competition brings.
I think you need a balance. I'm not saying you can't go out there with smaller players and affect the game and do well. Dimitri, once I asked him about that, he had a very smart answer for me. He said, no, look at Barcelona. At the time of Xavi in midfield, with Iniesta in midfield, it's how you move and how you move the ball. And I said, okay, yeah, right. You know?
Yeah.
So it's how intelligent you are with the ball that helps. And also, the physicality then comes in, especially with the CAF competitions, when it comes into the defending of set pieces.
Yeah.
The higher the level of football you go, the more important set pieces become. And that for me is where you need that balance now. You also need your bigger players to balance out for set pieces, either offensively or defensively as well.
Yeah, well, for me, I think Pirates will progress. They will beat this team on Friday. But then the real stuff starts.
So that's what I wanted to ask you, influencer, particularly in terms, because you're the scribbler and you're always on the ground, right? As to, yes, 2 trophies in the past seasons have been fair and well. Now this is Jose River's 3rd season. What are the expectations? Are the cups good enough, or do the Pirates fans, the journalists, are they expecting more from this Pirates side?
Yeah, trophies are nice. You know, nice for the club. You know, the players get to make a bit of money with bonuses and stuff. But I mean, we all know you have to win the league. And also now, serious club football, you have to go for the Champions League. That's why Sundowns are so respected on the continent, is because they consistently push the boundaries in the Champions League. And I've looked at this Pirate side. If you really look closer into this Pirate side, I just feel they're a little bit thin when it comes to Champions League proper. If you look on like the serious Champions League teams, Alakli, Wydad, Horoya, TP Mazembe, CS, Albelustar, Sundowns.
He wants to at the end. He wants to keep Sundowns at the end.
Simba, Yanga. Those teams are very strong. You know, if you want to get to the semi-final of the Champions League, you must be consistently beat those teams home and away. And I just don't think that Pirates have got that, you know. And also one thing that I've noticed with Sundowns over the years, or with Champions League over the years, is that most of these teams, especially the North African teams, they always have, if you check the spine, they have a tall central defender from the continent. West Africa. Defensive midfielder from the continent. Big boys. And that's where Sundowns think they get it wrong sometimes, because Sundowns tend to do it differently. They go to South America. And these South Americans, sometimes they struggle on the continent. And if you check Al Ahly will be so bad during the group stages. They will sneak in through the semi-final. But if they get to the final, they'll beat you. That's the aura of the team. That's the experience they have in this tournament. And I just hope that Pirates maybe let them go this season, group stages. Let the players learn that territory. Let the players know what it takes to leave Johannesburg, go to DR Congo, go to TP Mazembe, get a result there. What it means to go to Tunisia, to Algeria, get a result there. And then next season, then they must sign push to go.
I agree with you, because you have to remember what Rulani said as well last season when he was speaking about the Champions League, and I agree with him as well, where he said the Champions League is like that girl you're courting for a long time, and you're asking
Real Madrid.
Exactly. And with time, you get there.
For sure.
When you look at this current Paris squad, very little international experience. They're still growing internationally as internationals, and club international, which means CAF competitions as well. A lot of them are still growing in that regard as well. So you can't expect too much this season. Let them get to the group stages. Hopefully they do. Compete. If they go beyond that, hey, great. But compete in the group stages. The thing is, they have to be back next year and they have to be back the year after that.
For sure.
They have to do it consistently for 3 or so years before we can start expecting semi-finals
and finals on that note.
There's a story I always say about Coach Pizzo, and I mean,
I was waiting for you to bring in pizza.
I always remember this moment when Sundowns beat Al Ahly 5 at Lucas Moripe. You know, this thing lives in my memory. Coach Pizzo came to the press conference and he sat down. It was packed in the press conference room. He looked at us, and you know what he said? He said, "I've got them. I figured them out." Because
I still remember that.
they have been in the Champions League all like 3, 4, 5 years, going in there, getting knocked out early, but learning. And you get to a point where you get to understand. Now they are saying when the draw is done, when those North African teams draw Sundowns, they say, hey, because they know Pretoria. If they come here, Sundowns hardly lose matches in Pretoria in the Champions League. I think they've lost only 3 matches in the last 6 years. So that's what you need to do. And that's what that's the level at which players need to get to. They will get to. I think they are strong enough. The players need to learn how to play there.
For sure.
The coach himself is not experienced in terms of traveling on the continent. And the one thing that they must get right, you must charter there. These things of going to Dubai and you will be beaten left, right, and center.
Okay, so more money is needed. But yes, James, to add on that.
Mahlatse mentioned something very critical to say. In every team that has won the Champions League in Africa, you look at Al Ahly, they had an African player in it. And then it is proven through Al Ahly over the years, year in, year out. And also the issue of set pieces plays a key role in terms of the physicality and the height that you have in the team. I think if you check the way that you check Al Ahly, Sundowns struggled a lot when it comes to set pieces. And it's one thing that in South Africa we need to believe in it, whether we like it or not. Games are won through set pieces, are won through a critical moment. Dead ball situation, not only attacking but also defending. It's both ways, and the physicality of it, you need to. Sundowns said, your Sumahoro said, so you need those type of players because you go against a strong and tall, physically strong African players. So you have to compete. You look at the Orlando Pirates. I see, yes, the Mavasa, he's good enough to compete. You know. Physicality-wise, body-wise, aerial-wise, he can compete.
And Devza, you are forgetting 2 important things also, Champions League. Leadership group must have good leaders in that team. It brings me back to, I know it's not Champions League, AFL. If you go look back at that match at Loftus, you know what happened? I think 15 minutes before the game was ended, the ball went out. Mshishe ran to the coach, to Rulani. And you could read his lips. He said, "Coach, Aseval." Then they closed that because Ulani wanted to continue to play this thing, pushing. Mushishi, because of the experience that he has, knowing the critical moments in the match, he has read the situation. He went to the coach and said, "Coach, let's close it." Few minutes later, Mandela went in. They closed this thing and then they won that match. The other thing is the ball boys there.
Definitely part of the tactics.
It is competition. You use everything that you have.
Whatever it takes to win. Absolutely crazy. But I mean, talking about the ball boys, Debs, I mean, we might as well talk about the youngsters and the development in the country. We do know that you also, partake now and again as a scout. So talk to us about, the young players in the country and the progression, really, because we look now at Mbata, for example. He's 24 years old and only getting a call up now. You're just like, bro, my goodness, it's a bit late. I mean, in our country we say at 24 you're still a youngster, but in the real world that is not the case. So talk to us about the real youngsters, the teenagers in the country that you've seen.
Look, there were a lot of players. If you look, I'll go back and just to give an example with a player like Bongani Zungu. When I scouted Bongani Zungu, he was 19 years of age. And this is a funny story because at that time, I remember Soli Luvengo was the head coach of the under-20 national team. Bongani Zungu was selected in that team without kicking the ball.
Sure.
Because the coach believed in me, in what I saw. So no one knew Bongani at that time. I was playing for Dynamo, staying in Guyana, then Limpopo. So he came over I introduced him to my coach, Steve Baka, to sign him up. I took Steve Baka to go watch him in Tembisa Dynamos versus the team from Eldos.
Is it All Nations or something like
No. AK. So we watched them for about 85 minutes. My coach Steve Baka said, no, it's not good enough to play PSL. My heart was like burning. I said, this man doesn't see what I see.
Yeah.
You know? So we drove back. I said, no, man, this man, he went on holiday in Precious, and I called the boy. I said, come try. I want a second opinion from other coaches. Said, Trotons, Lime, Masala. They kept him. When Steve came back and said, who's this player? I said, no, it's Thames' player. I said, hey, it's too good, eh? So that's how Bongan came in. But if you check, 1 season at Tuks, 8 goals, Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yeah.
So that's when you talk about the real talent that you see, and it develops very quick in a very short time of space. Yes, of course, we do have youngsters in the country that are good enough. We just need to go out there and look for those type of players that we can get. Obviously, it depends with the type of team that the youngster must go to, the type of style of play, and also vis-a-vis the demand of that particular team at that time. Because in South Africa, we've got this belief that you can't play youngsters at Mamelodi Sundowns. You can't play him at Kaizer Chiefs, where the pressure is too much. Let's throw them into that pressure. Let's see what they can do.
I say this.
This repetition is proven to say, the more you repeat same thing, you get better. It's like riding a bicycle.
For sure.
The first time when you get on top of the bicycle, you fall many times.
A couple of times,
but consistently you repeat, you are able to, ride straight without falling. Thereafter, because you repeat the ride so many times, you end up riding the bicycle without even holding the horns. So that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Tuks. I'm glad you mentioned Tuks, because I wanted to ask you about the institution first, because you were part of the group that qualified Tuks to the PSL, right? And out of those players, like you say, Zulu were there. There's many other players that did very well coming from Tuks. They do well at that level, and they're now knocking on the door again to try and get into the PSL. They've done well at varsity level, TDC level. What is it they're getting right as an institution for Tuks? Because it's different age levels when you look at it that way. And look, they really have contributed a lot to South African football.
Yeah, look, if you look in every national team way back up until now, there's always a Tuks player somewhere. Even in big clubs, top clubs, Sundowns, SuperSport, you see a Tuks player everywhere. Yeah. So why? Tuks has got a structure that obviously the high performance center is the key point. But our main aim at Tuks is to try and give youngsters an opportunity and develop them in such a way that it's special. Fitness is one of its own. If I can tell you the story of Grant Kana, you'll be shocked.
Tell us quickly.
He arrived at the age of 13. 13 years of age. He was his mother recommended him to our kit manager. Our kit manager then brought him into the club. In the academy at 13. We're running a commercial-based academy, so whereby kids are paying to be taught to play football and to be trained. He came out through that program. Within 2 years, we saw a potential in him. At the age of 17, we signed him in the national first division team. Then he was given a full scholarship to study at Universoty of Pretoria. Nice. From there, we played with him I played with him. I was his captain in the national first division team. Then up until we sold him to SuperSport for 1.3 million. And where is Grant today? There are many, your Mark van Heerden, your Robin Johannes, your Ratu Shabangus, your Andile Jalis, your Penyo Mongalos. There are many. If I were to count you, I will get to the list of 80 or 100. So currently as well, we are on that. If you check, there were a couple of players when we failed to beat Swallows in the playoffs to advance to the Premier Soccer League. We lost about 10 players into the Premier Soccer League teams. So there's something that we're doing well, but the main key factor for us, we believe in an unknown players, younger players, hungry players, and we make them fitter. We make them play basic football the way they are. We play according to their strength. It's simple as that.
You know, you guys always
Wow.
break my heart though, Dibs. And it's funny. So the last playoffs, Sizwe Mabena was convinced that no, this is the year. Tuks is qualifying. But you guys keep on breaking our hearts, playoff after playoff. Why is that?
It's simple reason. You know, these past playoffs, I can simply say we didn't manage it well when it came to the Nedbank Cup. If you remember, we played Mamelodi Sundowns. We matched them pound to pound, 120 minutes, while in the country no one could stop them. And we were the only team coming from the lower division, in fact, to take them to the extra time in the Nedbank Cup. Yes, we managed to 10 players well, and we did not have your Sabanyunis because they were not allowed to take part in that particular match.
Yeah.
So we were playing Richards Bay. We were playing Maritzburg away on Wednesday. So, and we lost that particular match. If you check, Samuel Julius didn't play full 90 minutes.
Yeah.
You check our centre back, Makara did not play 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Why? We were trying to manage those that are regulars in our team. But because they did so well against Sundowns, again, it goes back to what I said. The type of opponents that you play as a player, you tend to undermine. Because you did so well against Mamelodi Sundowns, everyone is receiving calls left and right as a player. Now, you believe that, no, man, Maritzburg is going to be walking in the park. If we could have hold Sundowns like that psychological effect killed us. I remember after that game, the following day, I sent a text to my head coach. I said, I'm worried. I'm worried about the Maritzburg game. This Sundowns game will cost us big time when we're going back to the league. We went 7 games without a win in a row after playing Sundowns. So how we finished number 2 on the log, I'm still shocked even today. I don't know how did that happen. Because going 7 games in the league without a win in a row.
At the time of the season.
Then at the time of the season, you lost 2 in a row, drawn the rest, but you still end number 2 on the log. Very shocking.
Yeah, now I think from my side too, prospects for this season, I think now you guys must be promoted now. It's been too long.
Please.
And then one just a question from me. You've just rattled out the names of the players that came through the tax system.
There's one name. Penyo Mangala.
Yeah, he went to Pirates. The guy
from Botswana, right?
Yeah.
He's the guy that famously the whistle.
Whistle of
Yeah,
the story of Penyo, we got him while we in the National First Division from Platinum Stars on low. You'll be very shocked when I say this. He was my teammate. In the 4 years he spent the tax, he started 4 games.
What?
Yes, he started 4 games. In fact, the game that Steve Barker played him in the Nedbank Cup against Chiefs.
At
Moripe. I was very shocked that after that game, immediately he joined Orlando Pirates. And we sold him for 1.2 million.
You're joking.
So a player who's never played for 4 years, so much of a regular game time, only played 4 matches, started 4 matches, and he's bought for 1.2 million.
Goodness gracious. Now that's raw
Coming
talent.
back to my question. You rattle out the names of the players that came through the tax system. Yende is one of them. Can you just give me one of the players that was the best of that lot? I've got my one. I'll tell you my one, but just one, and also the prospects for tax for this season.
Look, I would say Lerato Chabangu was one of the best players that I've ever played with and came through the tax program, and in many ways, a very, very agile, very skillful goal scorer. He had all in one. You know, it's one of the typical South African player that got selected, if you remember, for the first time when Bafana started selecting national first division players. It was Lerato Chabangu and Situa Chabanga at First Stars, the 2 of them. So he's one of the best, but although there are a couple, Bongani Khumalo, he's one of underrated player that
I agree.
He was in a different league in terms of his type of play. He was not a fancy player. He was more like me, you know. I remember I recommended him to Governor to sign him in the Premier Soccer League. That is one boy that he will go far. but based on commitment, hard work, and reading the game, and simple principles, the height, the physique, the size, those type of. But if you look at the prospect this season, we've got a couple of players that can come through Tuks, but the club itself, I agree with you. I think we will get an automatic promotion this season based on simple reason. We only lost 4 players out of the squad that we had last season.
Fantastic, yeah.
95 to 96, 94 to 95% we've kept. That's, I think, the understanding, the progression, and the consistency of the way we play. They understand how we play. If you check our starting 11 this season, there will only going to be 2, if not 1 player that I knew, the starting 11 this season. So that gives us an edge, I think, I must say, because this thing of chopping and changing the squad derail you, and you tend not to progress.
So was that a decision that you guys made to say, listen, this time around, we can't release too many players? And also, is this a conversation now you're having with the players to say, we know they're greener pastures, but we need you for this project?
Look, we are a team that we don't stop anyone to move on individually. So, and if you check Tuks, the first season we reached the playoff spot with Swallows, we lost 10 in the starting 11. We started a new squad all together. We finished 8th. That tells you that if you lose your core in the starting 11, you'll struggle a bit because you are in the rebuilding phase. But now, after that season, when we finished 8th, we never released anyone. And that took us into another playoff spot again this past season. So the same thing that it's a repetition of what we've been doing for the past years. But otherwise, players also understand that this is a bigger picture, it's a bigger project. And Tuks is like your Barcelona or your Madrid or your Kaizer Chiefs in this league, because everything is like
it's
it's
available,
like heaven.
it's there.
It's like heaven. Everything is there. Yes, exactly.
Come on, man.
We'll hold you to the steps. At the end of the season, you're coming back.
Anytime.
What happened? Oh, congratulations.
You guys are doing is breaking the coach. Clubs change coaches.
So that consistency is good.
Our coach, the youngest coach in the league, I think, one of very shocking young men who, when he was appointed, he came at the university as a student to study. And he played at Tuks for the university team. He played for the ABC Motsepe team. The time when the PSL, we had a team called Spartak in the ABC Motsepe, and he played there. He was a captain of the student team as well, and coached from under 15 all the way from SAB League. And Varsity Cup, he won the Varsity twice. And then, I remember one day when I spoke to my CEO by then, Dr. Andana Murahoz, he said, who do we appoint? I then sent him a quote from another book, John Maxwell 101. It said, sometimes you look for a solution outside while the solution is within. So he asked me, what do you mean, Tibbs? I said, no, this young man is good enough to coach this team.
Sure.
It's good enough than our previous coaches who were here combined. He looked at me and said, are you mad? I said, no, I put my head on the block. Give him a chance. I've listened, I've watched when he coached. He's good enough. And look where the club is today. The youngest inexperienced coach. And today he's the one who brought the most success since we got relegated to the Premier League.
And cafe license,
cafe license holder at the moment.
I like that a lot. On that note, we also have, of course, another young player, Tebogo Monyai. We've done, of course, 10 questions with him. So let's quickly find out how that went about.
Who is your favorite Orlando Pirates player of all time?
Tuks Makai.
Tell us your favorite match you played as a professional player and why.
Bloemfontein Celtics, 3 August 2019, because my first game for Orlando Pirates.
Who is the best player you ever played with?
Of Orlando Pirates? Timmy Kosiloch.
All right. Who is the best or toughest opponent you have played against?
Oh, boy. I want to make it obvious.
That's fine.
Cheers, Galaxy.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Have you ever needed the toilet during a game, and what did you do?
No, never.
What stadium has the best atmosphere?
Oh, obvious. It's Kotini. Orlando Stadium.
All right. Would you prefer winning the derby twice in one season or man of the match in a cup final?
Oh, the derby, obviously.
Okay, which would you choose? Winning all 3 cup competitions, MTN 8, Carling Cup, Nedbank, in one season, or just winning the Champions League?
The Champions League.
Would you take the last penalty in a cup final? If not, who would you recommend?
I would take it.
All right. Who is the player you most idolized as a kid?
International, locally.
Give me both.
Internationally, Hakimi. Locally, Dan. I don't want to say this name. But okay, Happy Jelly. Happy Jelly.
We have one more question for the gentleman here in studio, and we'll start with you, Debza, since you're the guest. The most stylish footballer that you've ever watched in South Africa, who is it be? And this is, of course, the sugar in the field of play when we say stylish, yeah.
Yeah, there was a player by the Mahlatse who would remember him and he would know him. He was at Sundowns at one stage. I played with him at Tuks in the NFG.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Biza Matamati.
Oh, he was telling us about him 2 weeks ago.
I told him. He could unlock anything, do anything with the ball at any time, move anyone out of his way and still find his way to pass. And, one of the most skillful players I've ever seen. I think he didn't last long in the game. I just wish that he was still more younger, that he was going to show a true South African typical type of a player.
Yeah. What about you, Benzel?
For me, hands down. And my dad and I used to argue about this when I was young. Shakespeare one. The freestyle. And Shakespeare was so nice on the ball, even as a legend.
Yeah.
Let's say when they play the Legends games, you still have people cheering, and now he's big as well.
Yeah.
But you can still have people cheering and watching and enjoying the game. Shakespeare for me was the most stylish for me on the ball there. Like
influencer?
I guess you're saving the best for last.
Yeah, I mean.
It's a difficult one. I've got 2, but I'll narrow down them to 1. Emmanuel Scarangoves, I think. It's just what God gave him. You can't do anything. And Coach Dimitri Ted got the best out of him. He was too playful at times, but if you watch his clips, he was a player who was dribbling mostly going forward. He would do this thing and dance, but mostly, if you check the season that Beshuma scored so many goals, it was just Ngwabetse and the striker from the Free State. Yes.
Yeah.
The other one is Shakes, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Shake, A quick funny story. At the Maripiri games, the final one year.
Yeah.
The curtain raiser for the final was the media team against Alex and Tembisa legends.
I think I was there.
And I happened to be playing in the media team.
So you were not playing the media, definitely.
So Shakes, obviously was a little bit overweight and stuff. He just stays in the circle. He doesn't come out of it. They give him the ball and I stopped watching and I was just marveling at
you stopped playing and then you were watching now.
Something else. It reminded me what Dolores said, no, this man, you look there, you pass there. But if I have to narrow down one, I'll have to go to Shege. He used to walk around and say, Shekalino. So She's coming for me, definitely. But Biza, I saw Biza trading at Sundowns.
You went on and on about it. But that's, of course,
your most stylish player.
My most stylish player.
You want to know?
No, I'm not all about the style. I'm not all about the style. You let us know who's your most stylish player. That's how we wrap up the Arena Show. It's been absolutely great. Thank you so much for joining us. Cheers. Goodbye.